Hi, we will continue with our discussion on my 60 books. As I mentioned earlier, out of the 60, I have about a dozen of them which are single author books only by me, about 14 of them with along with Dr. Uday Parikh, and of the remaining, uh, about 30, 34, whatever is in between. Quite a number of them were co-authored or co-edited with my other colleagues, either from IIM or from the Academy of HRD or from people outside, largely from National HRD Network and so on. I will pick up only the stories of some of the most significant books of these. As I mentioned, each one has a story. Each book is like producing a film. So I will briefly narrate some of the stories behind these books. The first of my co-authored book was with Professor Pramod Verma. He is no more. He used to be a professor at IIM, Organizational Behavior Area. This was the first project we did. 1973-74, most of you may recollect, were the years when the country was concerned with growing population. A lot of researchers have suggested there is a negative relationship between large family size and economic development or welfare of the family and so on. So it was said a small size family creates more healthy family, and therefore we need to control the family size in India. That was the time where government also had a lot of policies. So Pramod and I thought that it is very important to have this role of helping workmen, labor in organizations to be change agents in promoting family welfare. Those years we used to have a very important role called labor welfare officer. In fact, labor welfare officer, much more than the personnel department or establishment section, used to look after the welfare of employees. Largely in a city like Ahmedabad, textile labor was very, very critical in terms of producing a lot of cloth, and a lot of things were happening. And textile industry was very prominent in those days. We thought that we should collect the labor welfare officers in the textile industry in Ahmedabad and get them to think about creating good family welfare in the families of labor. So we submitted a project to India International Labour Organization. I don't remember now how we got these funds, very small fund, where we intended to train the labor welfare officers on a new role they should perform in educating family members of the textile labor on the importance of having a small size family so that they can look after this, the family welfare and so on. So we conducted an initial survey, then got a large number of labor welfare officers for a 2 or 3 day workshop at IIM Ahmedabad, get them to think about what the world will look like when the population grows, what the industry will look like, and what the families will look like in terms of their own quality of life and things like that. And after that, we got them to develop action plans. And then we followed up after some time with what these welfare officers have done in terms of impacting the family welfare of labor welfare officers. We produced it as a book, Role of Labor Welfare Officers in Promoting Family Welfare. This was published by a local publisher in Ahmedabad. The next in the series, I can recollect, is a work which I had done with my colleague, Professor J.K. Satia. This is the book. This book is on managing family planning activities at the clinic level. Managing family planning activities at the clinic level. This was published, 2 editions were published by Asia Pacific Development Administration Center in Kuala Lumpur. Actually, for writing this book, we were running a program in Kuala Lumpur with APTC. And during the program, I think some other people have suggested, why don't we develop modules? Because most people in Asia Pacific countries need to manage their clinic level activities. Clinic is like a health center, and most clinics are focusing on family planning. And when we looked at what are the skills that we need to be taught, we understood, I think, which include, first of all, to identify the tasks in managing a health center or a clinic, managing information, education, and communication activities. What are all the service activities that can be done? How do you plan family planning activities? How do you motivate supervised staff? How do you coordinate with other agencies? How do you monitor, control, and how do you finally evaluate clinics' performance? So you can see there is a mixture of both organizational behavior as well as operations management. Professor Satya was a specialist in operations research, quantitative methods, and IT, and so on. So I think we combined both of these, and this was published and was used in, I'm told, in a number of countries to train family planning or health center managers. This was a very good book published by APDC in Kuala Lumpur. Next in the series I must mention is a book on identification and selection of entrepreneurs. Identification and selection of entrepreneurs. This was published by IIMA Ahmedabad. Now this has an interesting story. In 1975, I was invited to attend a workshop at East West Center, Hawaii, Technology Development Institute of East West Center, on entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial development. There were about 3 weeks we spent. We had people from Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and all other countries, including 4 of us from India. We all got together, we learnt about entrepreneurship and the need to develop entrepreneurship. This was the time I, along with a few other colleagues from Malaysia, formed a body called Endeavour, Entrepreneurial Development Association, international association, which never took off. But in place of that, the Malaysians, I think, promoted a local body called National Entrepreneurial Research and Development Association, NERDA. In fact, as soon as the East West Center Hawaii workshop was over, we were supposed to develop projects. Each country was supposed to develop projects and share the results with each other on how to identify entrepreneurs, how to select them, how to train them, and so on. So that was the time when I formulated a project in India. Let us examine the experiences available across the country from various state level governments and various institutions that are financing entrepreneurs. So we promoted a project of identification and selection of entrepreneurs. I joined hands with my colleague, Professor T.K. Maulik, and produced this particular volume, which talks of the qualities required to be an entrepreneur. Because if you have to select entrepreneurs, you need to understand the qualities that are required. So in this book, we had people who have contributed an interesting set of articles, but it is largely based on our own kind of work. And the topics that we included in this book include a survey of selection techniques for entrepreneurs, policy implications for identifying entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial selection and social objectives, characteristics of entrepreneurs, effectiveness of entrepreneurs, some psychological and other correlates, unorthodox selection methods, assessment of entrepreneurs for financial assistance, and performance-oriented selection criteria. And of course, Ravi Mathai also contributed a very interesting article, Perceived Risk on Rural Entrepreneurship, and what Father Heredero contributed on agricultural entrepreneurship. Dr. N.P. Singh contributed on tribal entrepreneurship. So this is a wonderful collection of articles on selection and identification of entrepreneurs. I think it even today makes a very interesting kind of a reading on entrepreneurship. I think we held a conference on the basis of this book. We had people from other countries like Malaysia coming to IIM Ahmedabad. That is how our bonds between ourselves and Malaysia strengthened. In fact, that led to NERDA inviting Dr. Uday Parikh to, as a UNDP consultant, to work with Malaysian Industrial Development Finance, MIDF. Dr. Parikh went there, I accompanied him later, and we spent a few months there training trainers of entrepreneurs. That is when we wrote this book, Developing Motivation Through Experiencing, which consists of a series of exercises that we used and how we developed entrepreneurs using these books, these exercises and so on. The next in the series I must mention is an interesting book which actually we have done it in mid 70s by Dr. Uday Parikh, Ravi Mathai and myself. We actually started helping the Gujarat Agriculture University to integrate the three campuses at Anand, Navsari and Junagadh with their other campus at Dantewada. So there were three campuses. I think the fourth was supposed to come. A vice chancellor was appointed, and we wanted the Gujarat Agriculture University to do things which are totally new, and that is when we started measuring and identifying, because these campuses were done as different agricultural colleges, how decisions were made, how research is integrated into education, and how the agriculture university is serving the farming community and things like that. I think the main contribution of this book is a series of articles on decision making process in agricultural universities, and how participation helps in decision making, and how to measure organizational health of universities. I still remember Uday Parikh, Mathai and me going to colleges in Anand and Navsari and sitting with the faculty and developing a tool on measuring organizational health. I remember, I think whenever we went to Anand, Ravi Mathai used to first visit his cousin, Dr. Kurian, spend some time with him, have breakfast with him, and then we go on to the university. That was a number of times in 1974, 75, we made visits to Anand and Navsari. In fact, we still have a plant which I got from Navsari campus, actually from Valsad campus, and planted it in house number 310 of IIM Ahmedabad. It's a big chiku tree. Today, even one can see that. I mean, these are small tidbits, asides, whatever we have done. Another important thing that I want to mention at this point of time is the establishment of the Academy of HRD. In 1990, when the Academy of HRD was established, MRR Nair, Uday Parikh, Father Abraham, Keith D'Souza, Rakesh Kumar and I, we all assembled in Bhilai and conceptualized the Academy of HRD as an institution of national HRD network. And after we started it, we started a series of roundtables. One of the roundtables resulted in a book on performance appraisal by Uday Parikh and me. Another roundtable resulted in a book edited by Jerome Joseph and me. This is a book by published by the Oxford and IBH, but by the Academy of HRD, on career planning and promotion policies, the Indian experience. I think there are some wonderful articles. In my view, they are relevant even today if you look at how careers are built and so on. After the academy was established, Babu Raj Nair joined the Academy of HRD, and we had an idea how do different people think about HRD. What does the HRD concept mean for them? And we, on behalf of the Academy of HRD, along with Father Abraham used to very actively work with us. Although he was director at XLRI, he quite often visited Academy of HRD. We brought out an interesting booklet, HRD Philosophies and Concepts, the Indian Perspective. In this book, we have outlined the way HRD is viewed by many CEOs, senior managers, and some of you who are listening to me may find even your experiences, your views. Like I still see Sujaya Banerjee, her views about HRD, and many of the other CEOs and their views reflected here. So that is the other publication from the Academy of HRD. Around this time, we had done a lot of work on organizational climate, and there are a lot of tools that were available. And we brought out this book called Measuring Organizational Climate by Dr. Sarupriya, Setumadhavan, and myself, three of us. This lists all the tools that were available in measuring organizational health. Last of the series from Academy of HRD, I'm not mentioning each of them, is an interesting book. We had a big project on self-renewal. We didn't want to use the term OD because IISER Germany granted us to do some work on organization development with renewal. So we did a lot of experiments with NGOs, and this is documented in this book called organizational renewal of NGOs. Friends, I'll stop here and pick up later.